Breaking news! Scientists have found out about a new drug that makes you live longer, enhances your memory and creativity, makes you more attractive, keeps you slim while lowering food cravings, and decreases your risk of literally every disease ever discovered on Earth. Is it the recently legalized mystical marijuana in New York? No, it's not. It's sleep. What is up, YouTube? For those of you who are new here, my name is Aidan Helfant. I am an upcoming freshman at Cornell University who makes videos on all sorts of things. I like to help people make their own journey through life by sharing the various things I have learned over the course of mine. Hopefully through the process, we can all come out as healthier, happier, and more fulfilled. Today we're going to be talking about the one thing that defines all human beings no matter their social class, religion, race, or personality. Literally everyone needs to sleep. Ironically, for something so important and scientifically studied, barely anyone gets enough sleep nowadays. Americans alone are currently averaging less than 6.8 hours of sleep a night. Even when they do end up getting that precious shut-eye, the quality of the sleep is often less than ideal due to a variety of factors. In this video, we're first going to discuss the various things that affect sleep and then delve more deeply into what we can do because of it. Obviously, there are a ton of things that factor in your sleep, but there are a few standouts. The first standout is your circadian rhythm. Everyone has their own circadian rhythm. It's quite possibly the single biggest factor in determining when we go to sleep. Beginning in the morning, when most people first wake up, your circadian rhythm naturally causes an increase in serotonin. This hormone plays a key role in promoting wakefulness after getting up. As the day goes on and darkness naturally begins to fall in the world, melatonin is instead released to aid in making one feel sleepy and ready to go to bed. While you can actively work to shift your circadian rhythm forward or backward based on your schedule, it is often up to your genetics to determine when it is most likely to fall. Now, on average, 30% of people have naturally early circadian rhythms and are referred to in the sleep community as early birds. 40% tend to wake up in the early to mid-morning between 8 and 9 a.m., with the last 30 unfortunate percent being the late risers who can wake up in the early afternoon. Now, after this, we have light exposure. This goes hand in hand with your circadian rhythm. When we get up in the morning, our body naturally wakes up due to high light or sun exposure. As the day turns to night and light becomes absent though, our body instinctively knows it's time to go to sleep. Now, of course, with the digital age, light from our screens and even lamps can affect this just tremendously. Blue light has been shown to suppress melatonin production at night as much to 2 times more than green and red light. So after that, we have caffeine intake. Now, everyone likes their coffee. The problem is that oftentimes people drink way too much. Scientists say that most people should only be consuming around 400 milligrams of caffeine or 2 cups of coffee a day. Coffee is so effective because it works to block the adenosine receptors in the body, which stops the feeling of tiredness so that many people often feel in the morning. If only consumed in the early hours, then it works as a very effective and healthy way to wake up. Oftentimes, however, people are just drinking way too much late into the afternoon, which inhibits our body's natural melatonin production. This, combined with the fact that caffeine can take as long as 10 hours to sufficiently exit the body, means lots of people are significantly affecting their quality of sleep. Now, after that, we have exercise. Exercise is generally great for getting better sleep. Some people, however, decide to leave their exercise until late into the night. When the heart rate is elevated close to bedtime, it makes it significantly harder to go to sleep, as the body believes it's in survival mode. Another big thing is bedroom temperature. Scientists say the best temperature for sleep is a room temperature of around 65 degrees Fahrenheit. If anyone's ever tried to sleep in a room that's too hot, you'll understand how hard it is to do so. Generally, a room that's too hot is much worse than a room that's too cold, so just keep that in mind when you go to sleep. Another major thing is alcohol. Alcohol generally has a negative effect on sleep quality. While it doesn't make falling asleep significantly easier, it actually reduces our REM sleep quality, which is arguably a lot worse than falling asleep quicker. This doesn't mean that drinking is completely wrong. It's fine to have like a drink or two, but anything more than this can have just a massive effect on sleep quality. Now, I think another thing to mention that's really important is sleep tablets. This is one of the biggest traps to fall for. Most people think sleep tablets work by giving our body artificial melatonin. This can greatly help in making us fall asleep for like the odd night or two, but the problems occur when these tablets are relied upon for effective sleep. When people take these outside sources for way too long, their body becomes reliant on this to sleep effectively. This means once the sleeping pills are removed from someone's nightly schedule, they'll actually struggle way more than usual to go to sleep. All right, so now we know the main things that contribute to sleep quality. The real question is, what can we do to aid in our sleep, knowing everything that affects it in the first place? So the first thing we can do is obviously follow our natural circadian rhythm. So we know that everyone's essentially born with their own circadian rhythm, and it's difficult to radically change it. Our first priority should be to figure out where in the day we find it easiest to wake up. Once this is done, we can try and slowly change our nighttime routine to replicate our natural bedtime. As soon as we get in the system of going to bed and waking up at relatively the same time, we're gonna find it a lot easier to fall asleep and get more rest in the long run. So the next thing that we can try and do is reduce light exposure at night. Now, I completely understand that most people will be unable to just get rid of the screen completely before bedtime, but everyone can make a conscious effort to make it less dramatic. So roughly 2 hours before we go to sleep, give or take, we can make a conscious effort to be in rooms with either no or a dim amount of light, so as to naturally allow our bodies to produce a sufficient amount of melatonin. We can also set a routine night setting on our screens, which will filter out a large amount of the terrible blue light, so often inhibiting our sleep at night. If you are feeling really snazzy, you can even order blue light blocking glasses and look like an absolute idiot in the hours before bed. Now, another thing we can do is limit our caffeine intake. It's fine to drink coffee in the morning, and it's actually really good for you because it's really high in omega-3 content. The only thing that we should be doing though is make a conscious effort to limit the amount we drink after midday, so in like the afternoon. This will ensure that the caffeine has enough time to mostly exit our system by the time we go to bed and not inhibit our sleep. Now, another thing we can do is exercise consciously. Exercising early in the day can do like wonders for allowing us to get a better night's sleep. Like we said before, however, we should ensure that we do not move too much about 1 to 2 hours before we actually go to sleep, because it's incredibly difficult to fall asleep and we have an increased heart rate, and doing cardio or weight training can just increase this really badly before bedtime. Now, another thing we can consciously do is make sure our bedroom temperature is at the most effective that it can be in our room, which is around, as we said, 65 degrees Fahrenheit. We should do everything we can to get as close to this as possible. But if all else fails, we should at least try and make sure our room is too cold rather than too hot, as like we said before, a hot room is much harder to fall asleep in than a cold one. Another cool trick I've learned over the years personally is to take a hot shower or bath a couple hours before bed. This causes our blood vessels to dilate as the body shifts into a cooling mode. So by the time we're actually in our bed to go to sleep, our internal body temperature has dropped to an ideal temperature for sleeping. Now, another thing we can do is reduce alcohol intake. Now, I'm not saying we can't have alcohol before bed. I mean, adults should make sure that they aren't drinking an absurd amount before bed, as this will ensure the quality of their REM sleep is as good as possible. Guys, I am telling you, no, begging you to try and follow some of these tips in the future. For some reason, a lot of high school students like to brag and make a competition about how little sleep they can get away with on any given day. Personally, I've never understood this idea myself, considering that they're quite literally competing to see who can throw away their health the most effectively. Honestly, aside from drinking more water, getting more sleep is the single best thing we can do to aid in every other aspect of our lives. It is only through establishing a good base of health through effective sleep that we can start to work on other aspects of our life, like relationships, finances, and spiritual well-being. Thanks so much for watching the video, guys. If you want to see more of my content, be sure to check out the other 2 videos I've recently put out. There's one on note-taking as well as another on putting first things first. I would really appreciate it if you guys liked and subscribed. And as always, I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.